So this podcast thing is a really great idea as far as doing it while I do the stalls, but I find myself stopping and talking to the camera. So you'd think I would just allot time specifically for that. So I'm going to do my best to stay working while I talk to you, because I don't get anything done. As much as I enjoy these chats, I have to learn to keep working in chat. I always tell people when, like if somebody's helping out in the barn and I come to talk to them and I find that they do that, they stop, and and then I feel guilty because it's like I held them up from continuing to work. And I'm like, no, I can talk to you while you work. I can watch you work. It's no big deal. It's not a rudeness thing if somebody wants to keep working. But I find that even just doing this, and I'm not even talking to a human being, I find that I tend to stop. So I'm going to try to not stop. I want to talk to you about handling a horse for the farrier or for the vet. There's a couple key things that you should know. First off, never be on the same side of the horse as your farrier. So if the farrier's got your front right foot up in the air, you need to be on the left side of the horse. You need to be out of the way of your farrier, and you need to be, a distraction, if you will, to your horse on the other side. Being in the way of the farrier is not the best. So that's kind of like just education on how to help your farrier, is to just be out of his way. And if you needed to, you could always pull the horse away from the farrier. If you're on the same side as the farrier, you can't pull the horse away from the farrier. You'll pull him right on top of both of you. So anyway, that's just that quick thing. That's just, some people don't even know that. They'll stand because they think they want to stand there and talk to their farrier, and it would be rude to be on the other side of the horse. So they stand on the same side of the horse as the farrier is. And you can ask your farrier if that's what they would prefer, but I'm pretty sure every farrier would say, yeah, you should be on the other side. So that's one thing. But anyway, so yesterday we had a horse she's a very emotional mare. She's maybe your typical mare, but I don't deal with a lot of mares for that reason, because they're just so dramatic. So she's being emotional about having her feet done, and her owner is still learning how to do kind of your basic everyday care things, like holding the horse for the farrier and stuff like that. The things that maybe were always done by the farm owner or something like that. So now it's becoming something that is requiring some knowledge. It's nothing wrong with needing to learn how to do stuff. So because this horse is so emotional, you find yourself wanting to control her. Okay? So now you're finding yourself wanting to grip her hard, or tightly on the line, and tightly by her face. So you're like, if you can imagine some kind of claustrophobic experience, you're pinning the horse down. Now you're pinning her down and he's got her by the leg. Just give yourself a second right there with that picture and see what might be the problem. Is it possible that the horse, who's already having a hard time with this experience in general, how the horse could potentially feel caught, captured, trapped, claustrophobic, okay? You are pinning her down by her face, and he's got her by her leg. That's got to be scary when you don't have the education. And what I like to educate them in is having responsibility. So the other thing that happens too is you tend to want to soothe them. You tend to want to, try to tell them, good girl, it's okay, good girl. Or even worse, I hate to say, is the shh, shh. Well, if you give it a second and listen to that, what does that sound like? That sounds like a snake. It doesn't sound soothing, that sounds scary. So you're not soothing your horse by shushing your horse. Trust me, it's not a soothing sound by any means to a horse. So, and the other thing that you tend to do is you want to constantly be petting their face, or constantly be, messing with their nose, or something, you have like a constant activity going on at their face. So now you're holding them tight, and it's like you're holding them there and forcing them to, you're holding tight and you're forcing them to tolerate extra stimulation. And they're already trying to deal with the emotional stimulation that they're struggling with. The best thing you can do for a horse in a farrier education is to teach your horse the responsibility of standing there quiet. Teach them the responsibility of controlling their own emotional state. How do you do that? You give them freedom. Now, this horse, she's been known to try to get a little taste of the farrier. So that freedom has a few limitations. Okay, the farrier's bent over, say, on the front right foot. You're staying on the left. You want to give her freedom. So the line has slack. So here's the snap on the horse, and here's the line coming down into your hand. Okay, so there's slack. You have the line that would offer enough room for her to have freedom, but not enough room for her to reach and get him. Okay, so you want to, calculate the length of your line to still offer freedom, but to also correct her if she were to attempt to go that direction and bite your farrier. So when I say freedom, I don't say, have a rope hanging all the way to the ground, and, obviously a horse that doesn't want to bite, like my horses, I just stand there and I don't even have to hold the rope, but that's because they know their responsibility. So you have to teach them that their busyness will get corrected and their calm will get them relief. This is kind of thing, like this is happening, so what you need to do so it's not a fight is to just be as calm as you can about it. So what I do is I make sure that my goal is to keep all 4 feet still, except for the one that the farrier's got up in his hands, and keep her head straight. And she can put her head down on the ground to a certain degree, like she can put her nose, say, knee height, or even fetlock height. But I don't let her stay there long. I will bump her back up. But I allow them to test their freedom, okay? And that's what a horse would do. They would, see if they can put their head down. Yep, you have that freedom. See if they can turn their head this way. As long as it's not a darting to bite kind of turn, I allow the turn. See if they can turn their head kind of over your shoulder. So now if you're standing here and the farrier is that way, and she wants to put her head like she's going to turn back over her own shoulder, all I do is I block it. And it's not emotional. There's nothing attached to it other than it's a block. And then as soon as she straightens her head back out, you just go quiet. So you just keep their head straight. You stop them from going to the farrier. And then if they go to put their head the other way, you just block it. And then the trick is just to have all calm. Calm is what teaches your horses. So if she tries to go this way with her head, block it. When she puts her head back straight, your hand goes back into neutral, and you just act like that never happened. Don't yell at her. Don't say anything. No corrections. No slapping. No hitting. No yanking. Just block. And when she puts her head straight, go calm. Keep thinking that you're building on her responsibility. You're building on her knowledge of what she should be doing. And every time she gets off track, you correct it, and then you go back to watching her learn. Watch her learn. So by the time the farrier was done, she was standing with her head low and relaxed. I didn't have a hold of her. I was not doing anything else to her, with her. She understood her responsibility. If she lowered her head, I allowed her to. If she went this way slightly, I allowed her to. If she went this way calmly, I allowed her to. And taught her that we will leave you alone. And I didn't mess with her. Talked to the farrier, talked to her owner. Didn't mess with her at all. We were all standing around having a conversation. Think about that for a second. I was standing there with another human being and another human being and the horse. I did not feel the urge to play with her hair or touch her on her nose or fiddle with her earrings. I didn't feel the urge to touch her. I didn't feel the urge to mess with her. I was talking to her calmly, my hands to myself, right? Could you imagine how uncomfortable I could have made her by touching her and playing with her and touching her and playing with her? She would have stepped away or said something or swatted at me, right? So think of, I always say don't attach human emotions to horses, but think of certain things you can, like that. Would I annoy another human being doing what I'm doing to my horse? If so, why would I show another human being more respect than I would show my horse? I need my horse to respond properly to a task that we're doing, yes. I need to be corrective in telling my horse that, we're here, we're doing this, but we're going to give you as much freedom as we can while you are a part of this activity. Allow them to believe they're a part of the activity as opposed to being done to them. If I'm holding her and he's yanking on her feet and whatever, the intensity that even comes with the trying to control the head so she doesn't move, none of that is comfortable emotionally. None of that is comfortable energetically. We need calm. You need the horse to feel like, this is all good. Okay, yeah, sure. I'll hold my foot up for you. You need your horse to actually willingly hold their foot for the farrier. I have one horse, he holds his foot way up, and the farrier's like, I don't even know what to do with that because he's trying to help so much. Calm and precise corrections that have no emotion attached. When she would put her head this way, it's just a block. And then calm. Just a block. Nope, that road's closed. That's it. That road's closed. Nope, that road's closed. She goes to pull the line. Nope, that road's closed. That's it. Not, no, you can't put your, take the emotions out of it. And I do think sometimes, and I can see it in a lot of cases, is the owner becomes more emotional because the owner wants to do a good job for the farrier. It's almost like a self-pride problem of, I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing, so I over-exaggerate my corrective behaviors, I over-exaggerate my energy, I over-exaggerate holding my horse. The worst thing you could do is upset your horse while your farrier is underneath of it. Think of it that way. If you're feeling emotionally charged, if you're feeling emotionally uncertain, ask your farrier for help. What could I do that would be helpful to you? How can I best handle my horse that could be helpful to you? Have communication with your farrier. You're probably chatting about what he did over the weekend or what you did over the weekend. So you're having a conversation. Have a conversation about how can I best handle my horse so that you can get your job done safely and quickly. And work with your farrier. Work with your vet. Horses that are needle shy. If your horse's neck is turned this way and your vet is trying to give him a shot in the neck, it's going to hurt the horse. If your horse is turned this way, it takes the flex out of the muscle and it doesn't hurt the horse. Now, of course, the vet doesn't want the horse's nose maybe coming at them because they don't want to get bit. So I kind of respect that. But if you can get your horse to just slightly take the bow, instead of bowing out, have them bow in a tiny bit and it'll be less painful and your horse will thank you for not letting the vet hurt them. And often horses' response to the vet is just in numbers, meaning I have one horse who you can approach him, you can love on him, you can do whatever. As soon as two people come in, he's like, oh, they recognize in numbers. So Again, there we go. I stopped working. Work with your farrier, work with your vet. Get a language between the two of you and an understanding between the two of you how you need to handle your horse to make his job safe, to make your horse comfortable, and to give your horse the responsibility of being a part of the conversation without you micromanaging everything about your horse. Stay out of your horse's face. You know, if like say she was, in this case too, this horse was yanking her foot away in a bad way and actually, you know, clipped him with her front foot, because she picked her foot up, and then when he went to go let go, she, you know, it's a front foot, and would jerk it back towards her back leg. And she got him. This was before I had taken her, and this was a new behavior. So we needed to make sure that anything that she's now inventing as a negative thing, we need to fix today, because it becomes habitual. Now you got a bigger problem on your hands for future. So we need to fix that today, kind of thing. So that's when, if he goes to let go of her foot and put her foot down and she puts it down politely, that's when you reach over. If she likes her face rubbed because you know she likes her face rubbed, not because you think she likes her face rubbed, then rub her face. If she, you know, most horses love having underneath the mane because generally it gets a little itchy under their mane. Give her a little, you know, little fingertip massage at the top of the mane line and tell her she's a good girl. And then that's it. Don't sit there and rub her the whole time the farrier is working on her, because you ever have somebody rub you in the same spot over and over and over again until it gets kind of red? You know what I mean? Like, you got to think of things like that. Like, don't over stimulate your horse. Reward them when they need to be rewarded, and let them have responsibility. Educate your horses. Educate yourselves. Work with the people that you need in your horse's lives, like your farrier or your vet. Work with them in the best way that you can be useful to them as a handler of your horse, so that they can get their job done. And keep your emotions out of it.